Today I learned Mark Hamill visited a dying fan in the hospital and answered every question as Luke Skywalker because the fan couldn't tell reality from fiction anymore. It was about 10 years ago when Mark Hamill agreed to meet a terminally ill boy who wanted nothing more than to talk to Luke Skywalker in person. The request was a long shot, but Ed Solomon, the screenwriter best known for Men in Black and Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, had to try for his friend, Joe Sikora, whose son was dying of juvenile Batten's disease, JNCL. The Star Wars actor is known for his huge heart and his giving to charities, but this particular moment went under the radar, that is until Solomon began tweeting about it on Monday in an effort to combat what seemed like a daily tidal wave of negative news. His tweets were so well received, Twitter made a moment of them and Solomon was inundated with replies. Even Hamill saw Heat Vision on Tuesday caught up with Solomon and Sikora to learn more about their emotional, beautiful experience with the star of the upcoming Last Jedi. Around 1998, my son, John, was diagnosed with a very rare genetic disorder called juvenile Batten's disease, JNCL, Sikora says. The disease robs kids of their vision first, followed by cognitive motor function. Typically kids die in their late teens, early 20s. It is a very complicated disease and most doctors aren't that familiar with it. So we lived in the moment, did as much as we could. His other son, Ben, also has JNCL. John was obsessed with Star Wars and watched the original trilogy every single day, says Sikora, who is a former Santa Monica police officer and now works as a therapist and hosts a call-in show on Relevant Radio, a Catholic network. He also wrote the book Defying Gravity about his son's condition and the family's experience. Wanting to give his son a special experience, Sikora called his friend, Solomon, in the hopes he knew Hamill somehow through his profession so John could meet his hero. I had never met Mark, but I called his agent and asked if this could happen, says Solomon, who is currently working on HBO's Steven Soderbergh-directed limited series, Mosaic. Mark's agent said, "Please don't say anything to the boy because I don't want to get his hopes up." And then, literally less than 2 minutes later, Mark calls and said, "I would love to. How about tomorrow?" I started bawling. That next day, Solomon and Sikora, along with Sikora's 2 sons, met up with Hamill for a portion of the day. Because of his state of mind, John could not differentiate between Hamill the person and Luke Skywalker the character. The boy's short-term memory was at times fleeting. The actor handled it like a pro, Solomon and Sikora remember. Mark spoke to John simply and directly and with utter dignity, Solomon says. John would ask the same question 3 times in a row, and Mark would answer the same way every single time. Sikora adds, Mark was just super patient and kind. It was one of those beautiful experiences. It is very humbling, this disease. You have got to let go of your normal expectations for you and your kids and family. In the midst of struggle and tragedy, it was those points of connection that makes you feel loved and less isolated. Mark was very kind, no rush, my time is your time.
Here's what the Redditors of TIL had to say about this.
Kurd tells. If you want more Mark Hamill goodness, I recommend the podcast Talkin' Tunes with Robert Paulson with Mark Hamill as a guest, edit, episode 39. Makes 90 minutes fly right by hearing Mark talk about stuff he loves. Endek says. There are very few celebrities I would particularly care to meet. A bunch that would be neat to see in a bar or something and be like, hey, cool, I know you. I would absolutely fanboy on Mark Hamill. Oh man, Apagio the Darkhold states. The man does not want for money, he works hard. That he does this with his free time? Couldn't ask for a better role model. Geomathrax explains. He had a small role in one of the Halo audio dramas a while back. I listened to the behind the scenes of it and it turns out the Mark Hamill's agent reached out to them about participating. They weren't sure if they could afford him, but the agent assured the staff that he often takes work like that for enjoyment. It sounds like he understands he has enough money to live comfortably and just does what he wants. I mean, he had a role in Dan vs. Spirit Gun says. Met him at an autograph signing in Florida when I was like 6, got him to sign a couple copies of the Black Pearl comic books that I had. I don't even remember the interaction too much, I was probably starstruck, but my mom tells me there was a huge line of people and he didn't care. He shot the shit with my mom for like 5 minutes. Seems like he's a down-to-earth kind of guy. Sound jokes. So what you're saying is Hamill could have been your stepdad, just Scott Austin says. Mark Hamill has changed so much as he has grown. He is truly an amazing person. I met him when he was younger, and I met him again older. Truly an amazing guy. Nothing but niceness in him. Rotha Vaghiri explains. Mark Hamill is a decent man. My younger cousin dated a nephew of Hamill's for a brief period a couple of years ago, when they were around 13 or so. One day my cousin's family had made brownies and sent them home with her little boyfriend. Later on, my young cousin was on the phone with her boyfriend when an older man asked to talk to her. He thanked her for the brownies, and said everybody loved them, and engaged in a little chit-chat. Concerned to overhear her daughter talking to a grown man she didn't know, her mom asked who she was talking to. Oh, nobody. Just Luke fucking Skywalker. Superiority goes on to say. Mark Hamill is a real blessing. While Harrison Ford doesn't think fondly of the series, it always amazes me how much Hamill and Carrie Fisher would get along with their fans. They always seem like such down-to-earth people, unlike other high-profile actors who are full of themselves sometimes. Despite what you think of some of the films, be it the prequels or sequels, this series means so much to many people across multiple generations now.
Thanks for watching. Today I learned by the Reddit King. Please be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications.